Okay, there we go. Test 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. That looks good. Next one in the row. Well, Griffin, thanks so much for the introduction and this very valuable speech. Also, very statistically, love it, the numbers and where the yield comes from. That's where we're here tonight. We talk tonight, institutional staking, the future of banking, blockchain banking products. Myself, tonight I represent the Crypto Valley Association, where I lead the working group education, and we do several topics which I introduce a little bit tonight. So maybe a little bit to understand the crowd. We got students, we got professionals here. Who owns crypto? Maybe one hand up. Well, in my presentations and lectures, not everybody owns. They're just fans. Who stakes? Anybody staking? Oh, look at you guys. What I'm doing here, you know already what I'm talking about, right? So Crypto Valley Association, which is the largest non-profit organization trying to foster the ecosystem in all around cryptocurrency and blockchain, not only to foster it, but also to maintain their status. How do we do this? We have conferences and working groups and where we discuss different topics. And as you can read from the slides, I chair the working group education because for me, academia know-how is very important, because if you do not know how it works, then you don't know how it works, right? So we got a project live last year, the 2022 Research Journal, where we compiled the best qualifying authors. One actually is in the front row, Jerome. Very beautiful paper he wrote on ESG and investment. We compiled it in a research journal, distributed to the different members we have. And it's the first in the industry, that sort of research journal, right? And then we give the chance for the authors to present their research findings in virtual conferences. Great project, and we continue this year, so stay tuned on this one. But we got some crypto fanatics here, so to say. But I would like to put it high level, where we come from. So I'm born 88. I remember a time in my life where I had not have a computer, but then quickly we had a computer. And then there was the first websites, right? The read-only ones, right? Something like Craigslist. Okay, that's newer, but you can just read, and you can put your pizza platform on there, like, hey, no interaction going. Then when we moved from Web 1 to Web 2, there was already an appreciation of value, right? You could suddenly see that, probably Snapchat is one of the most advanced, social media platforms. But then you see the difference from just like having HTML. I don't know, anybody knows how to code HTML? Back then you had some brackets, left and right, and a header. You had a header and a left bar. And there was improvement. And then what I usually say, because I work in the financial industry, focus on crypto, and then we move now to Web 3, so I'm not trying to convince anyone, but then from every step, you would have a transfer of value, right? So from reading only to then participating, sharing all the pictures you have, videos, recipes, food, move now to an internet where you transfer value, where you have the chance to actually, send peer-to-peer money. And I often give the example of, if you think about it, the internet was working like copying, Pirate Bay. I grew up with Pirate Bay. I still bought CDs, but quickly we had Pirate Bay. And then now the new internet, so the infrastructure behind the front end completely changed, so that we can suddenly do not copy anymore. And then, the first application was money, right? Could have been pictures or music, but then it was Bitcoin, right? And then we move for something, that's why we're digging into staking today, or validation, validator. Let's go into the terminology in a moment. But so inside the new internet, you have, the Bitcoin. That's the first use case. And every blockchain needs to maintain the ledger, right? They need to have consensus, they need to validate, and in Bitcoin you do it with a lot of work, right? Whereas then there was the new scientist, the pop star in our industry, Mr. Buterin himself with Ethereum, first proof of work, but then, recently transferred to proof of stake, where you would, I would say, validate those transactions through a consensus mechanism, which is proof of stake. And I brought something for you today. I was involved in setting up mining facilities, 3 megawatts back then in Canada, Quebec, because industry, the electricity was very cheap. We were still competing with the cannabis industry in Canada because they need a lot of electricity too. And just by showing you this, you will automatically understand why proof of work has no future. So down here, what you can't see, there's something like a measurement tool which shows you how much electricity you use to use this machine, right? I connect this now, and you must be aware that you need at least hundreds of those machines. They're all set up in a factory, trying to validate those transactions, right? And when we look now here in this measurement, this machine quickly runs up to 2,400 watts. This machine runs 24/7, 365 days per year. So obviously there's no future of maintaining this, because 2,400 watts, that's your wife's hairdryer, right? But running 24 hours, imagine, right? So this pumps up now. It will get louder. So imagine you're now in a factory where we have hundreds of those machines, right? So we obviously can see. Sorry, I can't hear you anymore, right? So we obviously figured out that proof of work doesn't work anymore, so to say. So we moved to proof of stake. Right. Otherwise, you won't hear me anymore. Let's deplug it, right? So yeah, why would I stake? I mean, let's pick the first volunteer in the row. Why would you stake?
Because it runs yield and also increase the security of the network.
Correct. Good point. How about you?
Yeah, I would say the same points. I guess the yield is really nice. Instead of just holding ETH, you can stake it.
Do you stake?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, okay, there you go. Why do I stake? So I come from more the tech side. Well, I'm not coding, but I was very early involved in Cardano, and I stake because you also contribute to the network. The yield, of course, from the financial institution is very appealing. However, you also have, some techie things, right to say. Sometimes you get voting rights, DAOs, these kind of cool things. But to be honest, we're here for the tech, right? I think so. So yeah, you can secure the network. You earn yield by, not just like waiting for the coins for appreciate or depreciate. And that's most of the reasons why people do stake. And hence the title of the presentation is the new banking product. Why? Because it's not anymore buying and holding coins and waiting. Elon Musk tweets something. It's really like, look, put your coins to work, right? And you see here in the graphic, since, well, you guys know how to stake. So you hold your coins, you give them back to the protocol, secure the network, and through this, you get rewards, right? Looking at this from a risk perspective, especially from financial institutions, there's always the question, what's the risk? What do we do? Well, there are market risks, of course, right? We got liquidity issues. So I was once involved in an advisory project with exotic coin from China. Yeah, problem is if you get 3,000, 4,000 coins, if nobody fucking trades those coins, then they're just in the cloud, right? But I think a very important thing is we talk about slashing, right, which is something like a punishment of a validator trying to validate, and if they have malicious behavior, malicious tech setup, then they would get punished. And you, as an institution, you give your coins to a validator. If you do not do it yourself, most of the financial institutions, they don't go down the route of validating, they delegate the funds. So you need to check on this, right? Like, so what's the risk if you give somebody else or delegate the coins, right? You got the counterparty risk. Crazy, you can analyze this. You use tools like Masari, CoinMarketCap, right? There are other websites where you can check and kind of estimate the risk to get a feeling, right? Lockup periods. So we have all different, logos here. Just test question. What's this? Yeah, exactly. How about this one? Nice. Yeah, so they all have different lockup periods, and you need to look at this, especially throughout volatile markets. If your coin's locked, you don't get them back, then big issue. My coins are still in Ethereum. Only God know, Vitaly know when we get access to them, right? So we need to look at this from a risk perspective to not have the impermanent loss, right? However, staking yields are relatively predictable. And I think from an investment perspective, it makes sense to look at it as a new yield-generating product, because in the financial industry you already have it, which is something like a fixed yield portfolio where you lock up your funds and you get low interest rate, but at least you get something back. So this is just, I call it the new way of doing this kind of yield generation, right? So custody, very fancy English terminology as a non-native speaker. So the safekeeping of the coins is, so you have your coins somewhere and you must figure out where you put them, right? Because not your keys, not your coins, meaning if if people use your private key, they have ultimately access to your coins, right? So the custody is very important. So where do you do this? Over the timeline, over the years, we had several incidents in where coins got lost. Not only through hacks, but also through the loss of private key. Very basic as this, right? Mt. Gox, one of the early godfathers of crypto, pretty much, right? Well, get busted. I hope he's safe, But then most recently, of course, as SBF, our best friend, living with his parents at the moment. And we got some numbers here, right? So I just put it on the reference. So Mt. Gox, 404 million, but then FTX got, I think it's now with Alameda Research, more than 5 billion, right? So much higher than this. So custody, very important aspect, especially looking from the financial institution point of view, that you have a regulated custodian who knows what they do, right? Very important to remember. And since I'm talking tonight from an institutional point of view, so imagine a bank, right? You have all the different departments which I have here now in the red boxes. You got legal, you got IT, you got finance, you got trading, and you got business analysis terms, right? In terms of process mapping, steps, risk discovery is a big topic. So all these departments need to work together in order to be able to offer a very effective and productive yield-generating product, meaning not only offering Bitcoin as an investment vehicle, but also then going one step further, right? I don't think the banks are ready to become an own validator. I think they need to go to institutionalized validators to offer this as a banking product. But especially on the trading side, that there's this project in the market, is Copper, and they have this technology that you do not pre-fund the exchanges anymore. So you kind of mirror, you balance on the exchange, you trade virtually, end of day you settle, boom, problem solved, right? So you eliminate the counterparty risk and increase capital efficiency, which from an institutional point of view is, the go-to. So where do we stand today? I think, especially in Switzerland, we have now, 2-3 banking institutions offering crypto as an investment tool. They are working. I think they have Signum, I think Zeba, they have staking available, but it's not yet a common approach, right? It's not yet the product on the market. So by saying this, and also to finalize this quick introduction, is I think that staking is a banking product. You can kind of oversee the yield you can generate. You can mitigate the risks which are there, but only if you are able to, make the connections between all the different departments in a financial institution. If you want to stay connected, please scan the LinkedIn. Happy to help, happy to have research, happy to help out in your financial institution with business process mapping, use case, and all the other things I talked about. I hope you found it interesting, and I think we go over now to the panel discussion. We have a very special guest tonight, Henry Fudge. He's coming back. Thanks for listening, and we network later, yeah? Thank you.